One of the deepest, perhaps the deepest tendency in our psyche is the desire to be loved, to be acknowledged, appreciated and loved. It's something which underpins the so-called spiritual seekers' quest for truth. What many of them are really looking for is love. And you see this in the typical guru-disciple relationship. The disciple loves the guru, and the disciple feels that the guru is love. And it doesn't matter so much what the guru says, because whatever the guru says is going to be absolutely wonderful, because it's all about love. And of course, this has got nothing to do with spirituality, even though it's dressed up as spirituality. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with reality. It's the embellishment and magnification of a very basic psychological tendency. I often wonder about my own motivation here. I'm putting these videos up in YouTube, and to be honest, when I first started putting them up, I didn't expect them to get any attention. It's just me talking. I could put on some nice music and have a better background perhaps, and put on some glitzy clothes and keep my hair nice and long and white and cultivate a nice image and perhaps increase the entertainment value, which might bring in some more hits, some more video hits. And I suppose, relatively speaking, my videos are just lying around in a dusty little corner of cyberspace, but I'm quite impressed by how many hits they've had. Over 20,000. I don't know what that means. Perhaps people just click on it for a few seconds and that's it. How many of these hits involve people actually getting to the end of the video? But it doesn't matter. It's a nice big number, much more than I was expecting. It's quite gratifying. And when somebody gives me some stars, 5 stars, that makes me feel very nice indeed. Thank you very much. So I'm a bit wary of it. I don't like to encourage the giving of stars, but it makes me feel nice. It's quite nice to know that there's somebody else out there acknowledging me. But I'm wary of it. I don't want to encourage that. And I'm aware of that tendency in myself, which is looking for appreciation. And if you're a spiritual inquirer, if you're an enlightenment practitioner, you really have to see this urge for what it is. And this is what Vasistha has been doing. Vasistha has been interacting with this urge quite directly, and this urge has manifest as a female celestial. This celestial has lived for a long time inside a rock with her husband, who comes across as a rather desiccated type. He's completely celibate, he always has been, and he just sits all the time. We assume in meditation, but his behaviour and attitude seems far from commendable. So this tendency to be loved, to be acknowledged, to be worshipped even, sets up a certain attitude to our environment. We expect something from the environment that's going to reward us. And of course this takes us away from the realization of our consciousness. And it gives us a certain worldview, it contributes to a certain worldview. If you believe that we're on a rock hurtling through empty space, and we're, as far as we know, we're the only life in the universe, then it can accentuate that feeling. Let's grab onto some love while we can. There's nothing before we were born, nothing after we die, so let's just grab onto something. So our understanding of the world in which we live affects our basic tendencies. Now, it's said that this celestial lived inside a rock. She got very fed up with her husband eventually. He got old and withered, and she developed yogic powers, and she left the rock, and she saw the rock. It was a rock on a huge mountain range called the Loka Mountains. When asked by Vasistha how she lived in the rock, the celestial said, "O sage, that world of ours within that rock is just like your world out here. In our world too there are heaven and hell, gods and demons, the sun and the moon, the firmament and the stars, the mobile and the immobile creatures, hills and oceans, and the particles of dust that are known as living beings. Come, why don't you bless that rock with a visit? Sages are always interested in wonders." And the translator here points out that the earth is also a pebble in the vast space, so we live on the rock rather than in it. Vasistha continued, "Accompanied by her, I coursed the space and reached the Loka and saw the rock. I saw it was but a rock and there was no world in it. I questioned her, 'Where is your world with all its gods and demons, mountains and oceans, the world which you described so graphically?' The celestial replied, 'Truly, O sage, I now see that what I previously saw in the rock is only in me. It was by repeatedly projecting that vision and experiencing it in the rock that I thought that I saw it. Now that I do not so experience it, that vision has gone. In you the sense of duality had ceased long ago, hence you do not entertain any false notions. Even in me the long-standing illusion has been dispelled by right perception, hence I do not see that world clearly. The present realization of the truth being stronger than the past illusory notion, the latter has become dim.'" We've all got some understanding of the nature of the world that we live in. Much of it has been fed by the astronauts that went to the moon in the 60s and 70s and took photographs of the Earth, the blue planet hanging in space. A lot of us are interested in what the astronomers and physicists come up with in terms of their understanding of the universe. But most of us still seem to believe that we live in a material universe. We live on a planet which is going around the sun, which is going through space. We've got all these notions which feed in to our own sense of being. And as wonderful as many of these notions are, there's still a sense of diminishing, I think, of our sense of being. If not, then that's great. But what we have to do is understand the notional nature that we hold of the environment that we live in. My universe is completely full. There is no emptiness in it. There's always something happening. So just as the celestial got this perspective on the very simple image of a universe within a rock, we should get a perspective on the notions which constitute our own universe and appreciate the dreamlike and illusory nature of them.